There is so much going on with the weather. We are going to jump right into it. We are tracking two snowstorms. Both of them have the cold side with those snow and ice, and both of them are going to have a severe weather side. Again, we're going to break the severe weather part down later in this video. I am going to have the chapters in the description so you can click around if you would like to. I know your time is valuable. You know the drill. Hit that subscribe button if you want to. Join the team. We'd love to have you on board to talk about the weather. Post in the comments and tell me what the weather is doing where you are. If you have been getting the snow, post how much you've gotten. I would love to know how much you picked up. Okay, so we're picking up with storm number 2. Again, storm number 1 is exiting now. That's what we had through the mid-Atlantic over the past couple of days. Storm number 2, again, moving through parts of the Great Lakes and eventually into the Northeast. We're starting this at about 7, 8 o'clock tonight, and you see the snow continuing to spread through the Great Lakes by around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. The snow is leaving parts of Michigan from Lansing, Detroit, and then moving really into southern Canada, parts of New York, and into New England. That's 4 o'clock in the morning. And then you see what happens. We really watch this head towards Ottawa, or really start to wrap up in Ottawa, I should say. Montreal into Quebec, and then still snowing pretty heavily in parts of northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, into Maine, parts of Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick as well. So this is going to be 12 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock AST, and then you see that there's 6, 7 o'clock in your Thursday evening, still dealing with some light snow in Maine, some of the heavier stuff, the heavier snow in blue there. It's still falling pretty heavily as you move into New Brunswick and on the northern side of Nova Scotia. In terms of how much snowfall is still to come, and again, we still have a lot of snow wrapping things up in Detroit anyway over the next couple of hours. So we're really picking this up on Thursday morning through Friday. Again, we talked at length in parts of Michigan and the Great Lakes about the storm that's impacting you guys right now. This is kind of going forward, and there's a lot of pink on this map indicating, again, a very nice snowstorm. If you are a fan of snow, again, it's been a while in spots that we had a snowstorm this big. Again, 20 inches of snow possible towards Quebec. Same deal in Montreal. Ottawa could pick up anywhere from 12 to 18 inches of snow. Again, we're talking about 20 centimeters there, moving, or 30 centimeters. Let me get back towards Toronto, right off of Lake Ontario. Look at that, pushing a foot or more of snow just north of Ontario, a little further away from the lake. I know there's a lot of cities on here. I put a bunch on for you guys so you can try to pick out your towns. That's why the map kind of looks all convoluted right now with a bunch of town names. There you go, up to Rimouski. Same kind of deal, 13 inches of snow. Getting back stateside, 15 inches in parts of northern Maine. Presque Isle could pick up around 8 to 10 inches, maybe up to a foot of snow. And then some really heavy stuff into New Brunswick as well, especially on the northern side of New Brunswick. Bathurst getting up to a foot. And we'll be watching that heavy snow again continue through tomorrow as well. So this is what's left, or what's still to come of Storm 2 once it kind of leaves Michigan and then slides through the rest of the Great Lakes north of Erie, through Lake Ontario, and then out towards the east. Again, this is kind of a general rundown of what I just showed you here to kind of put it more into perspective as that area of low pressure kind of slides up from just north of Detroit, right around Lansing, and works its way towards Ottawa. Notice in the red there, we just kind of highlighted, that is where the heaviest snow is going to fall there on the northwest side of that low. Also the opportunity for some mixed precip in parts of New York, just north of New York City, to the northwest of Boston, and then into parts of southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, where it's just a little bit too warm at the surface to produce snowfall, for the entire event anyway. The heaviest stuff, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, getting into Maine, New Brunswick, and then of course in southern Canada from Ottawa, Toronto, and then getting back towards Montreal and Quebec. So a very nice snowstorm if you've been rooting for a big snowstorm in parts of southern Canada and northern and interior New England. Now we're going to go to Storm 2. And Storm 2 is going to be a super impactful event because not only is it going to bring some crushing snow to the Sierra Nevadas, some super heavy rain into the lower elevations of California, Oregon, parts of southern Washington, but this is also going to have the potential for a multi-day severe weather event. We're going to get into some of the nuances, look at the upper levels, and dive real deep into that. If you're interested in that, that's going to be coming up in the severe weather section of this video. But first and foremost, it starts as this atmospheric river kind of blasting the west coast of the United States. And you see there in the purple, that's where we're going to have one of these benchmark Sierra storms. Again, we're talking about feet of snow coming. 3 to 4 inches of snowfall per hour. When you get that Pacific moisture getting lifted up onto the mountains, you get it to snow really, really hard. And again, we do in the lower elevations are going to be watching for that flood threat. That's going to be a concern, especially where we do have the burn scars. Now, this storm likely going to ramp up even further as we get into Thursday night. So you see again the white tops there on the mountains. That's the snow there kind of highlighted. Look at the snowfall rates, though. They go up even further. So 3 to 4 is crazy intense in and of itself. Those snowfall rates Thursday night into early Friday morning could exceed 4 to 5 inches of snow per hour, again, in the higher elevations. Very, very heavy rainfall, though, coming in the lower elevations, especially in Southern California at this point. So, again, like to have some rain to help the drought situation. Don't want it too heavy and don't want it all at once because we don't want to have mudslides because of the lack of vegetation due to the recent wildfires. Now, here is the snow that is expected. And again, one of these crazy snow events coming through the Sierras coming our way through Thursday, and it likely will snow a little bit more into Friday as well. You see it everywhere it's red. So through like Mammoth Mountain and down the Sierras, 54 plus inches of snow is going to be expected there. So again, we are talking feet. We're going to measure that in feet. We'll take you a little bit closer in again. South Lake Tahoe getting in on that. You see the purple showing up there, anywhere from 24 to 40 inches of snow. Taking you further down the Sierras, there's Mammoth Lakes again, tip top there, getting more than 54 inches of snow. So it's going to be one of those big time events. Great for the skiers again out west. Now, with this system, we talked about at length over the past several videos that there's a huge divide in the crazy cold in the northern tier of the country and then the record warmth or near record warmth in the southern tier of the country. That bad boy right there is going to dislodge all of the colder air that's kind of been bottled up across the northern tier of the country and then send it to the south. So as you get into Thursday afternoon, that Arctic air continues to work its way right down the spine of the Rockies. So we're talking about that cold air then making it towards Dallas, St. Louis. It's already been cold in Chicago, but that gets reinforced again as we move into Thursday afternoon. We're talking air temperatures 20 to maybe 25 degrees below normal. So again, take that normal number that you are used to depending upon where you live and then subtract 20 to 25 degrees. And then that's what we're going to be dealing with on Thursday. And then really for the next couple of days beyond that, as you might imagine with an Arctic air mass and that colder air is associated with that air mass. The warmth in the south, we're going to have some severe weather. And by the way, severe weather threat associated with that storm that's going through like Detroit and into Canada that we showed you before, that's ongoing as we speak right now. The second one, though, this is not the same one that's happening Wednesday evening. This is a different severe weather event, and this one's actually a day 4 highlight from the Storm Prediction Center here. Again, we talked yesterday that it's pretty rare to get a day 4 to 8 highlight. It's even more rare to go to that 30% color in that day 4 to 8 highlight. So you see that has been the change from yesterday. Now there's that 30% or higher from about Alexandria to Monroe, Jackson, Greenville, Tupelo, Tuscaloosa, just outside of Birmingham. So that would be, at this point anyway, where it appears that that main severe weather threat is going to line up. Now, for more on this, I talked about going in depth. I want to take you to our other weather computer here and just kind of look at some of the ingredients behind the potential severe weather threat. So the first things first, we clearly see our guy right here. That's going to be our upper level system. There's the ridge. There's the dip in the jet stream. The vorticity is what I'm showing you. That's the amount of spin in the atmosphere that could go into help creating some lift to get some thunderstorms going. So this is straight up Saturday evening now. Couple of things that I know right off the bat. This could be one of those higher end outbreaks for sure. And whenever you see a 30% there from the Storm Prediction Center, it's something to pay attention to. There are going to be a couple of limiting factors here, and obviously I hope that they all come into fruition to prevent anything bad from happening. But what I want to show you here is the orientation of this trough. So it goes like this. That's what we call a neutral to borderline positive tilt. So when we're talking about troughs, you have a neutral tilt, kind of like what we have here, how it's kind of split down the middle. A positively tilted trough is like that. where it's kind of oriented from the northeast back to the southwest. And then the big time severe weather making troughs are negatively tilted. So more like that, because it really helps to drive up the moisture and to increase wind shear and things like that and really help get things going. What we have going on here is almost like a, maybe it looks a little negative at that point, but I mean, it is just, it's not sharply negative by any means. What we do have, though, we do have some strong westerly winds kind of moving like that. So the wind at about 15,000 feet is coming out of the south and west. At the same time, we are going to be dealing, that's the GFS rendition. Again, it's, you might be able to argue there's like a little kink, maybe like that, but still, it's not the most sharply negatively tilted trough I've ever seen. That's for sure. At the surface, though, we are going to have this beast of a low. So there's the area of low pressure there in red. And by the way, we're looking at Saturday afternoon now. So the cold front's going to be extended right back through here. And then the warm front is going to be right back here. Like my drawing. This is what we would call the warm sector, in between the warm front and the cold front here. This is where all the instability is going to be to help get those storms going as that cold front kind of lifts it up. So we will have winds out of the south, and then winds aloft out of the south and west. So there will be a little bit of a turning of the wind with height there. I'm not saying that this event's not going to happen. Again, it looks pretty saucy as we move to parts of the deep south on Saturday. However, I always, if you follow Just Weather and everything, I always like to try to find limiting factors as well, because again, I want to show the science, I want to show everything and kind of let you guys do with it what you will, in addition to kind of breaking down the science as I see it from my expert opinion. But nonetheless, I see some limiting factors with that as well, even though we have a pretty significant severe weather threat. What we're looking at is outlined by the SPC. What we're looking at here is kind of a different, it's an analog look. So what an analog is you have past weather events. And what does the setup look like compared to past weather events? And did we get severe weather during those past weather events? So the CIPS analog, CIPS, is showing, again, that 30% chance for severe weather is warranted. It has that secondary color there. You see the yellow, and then you see the secondary color there, the brighter orange, representing that heightened threat. There's the official SPC outlook that I showed you earlier with that 30% from just on the Texas-Louisiana line into western Alabama. And then this is going to be the Colorado State analog here that is much more aggressive even. It's got it to purple, which is a 45 to 60% shot. And it also has the hatched area in there, meaning significant severe weather involved in that. Something to watch for sure as we get into Saturday afternoon and evening. Of course, unfortunately, this area is all too familiar with the severe weather threat as of late. So just keep that in mind. It's a good day to have a way to get warnings if you're just hanging out with the family outside. Make sure you have a way to get warnings before you go to bed. Make sure you have a way to get warnings. Your favorite news stations, local weather app is going to be perfect for that. You can set your location to those, and then you can really be alerted to that, make sure they're turned on and everything, and make sure the volume's up on your phone, things like that if you're going to be going to sleep. But again, that's going to be a key to have multiple ways to get warnings on the day on Saturday. So just keep that in mind. That's an early heads up here as we are watching that significant system that's going to be blasting the California and the Sierra Nevadas over the next few days, working its way across the country to give even more severe weather and likely even more snow again to parts of New England and into parts of the Northeast. And we can take that further out and show you the whole progression there. This is, again, where we haven't had a ton of snow. There's my fancy drawing. That is the heavy snow coming, developing again. This is a new one. This is Saturday, February 15th again. And you see some of the snow pushing up again. So for a winter that's been cold in Michigan, we're going to get some more snow. And it looks like that stays on all snow in Ann Arbor this time again too, and Detroit, Lansing, Grand Rapids. And then this is another nice storm coming into southern Canada as well. So um, the same places getting blasted with heavy snow as we speak, or tomorrow or the next day, going to get another big storm right on their heels again. And then this is going to be Sunday afternoon into the evening. Race fans out there, Daytona 500 on Sunday, 2:30. We're going to have some issues, I think, with some delays involved in that. Of course, we all know they can't really race if there's some decent rain on the track. Got to dry that to keep the driver safe and keep those cars from flying off. So we're going to be watching that closely for the Daytona 500. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, post in the comments where you're tuning in from. I'd love to know what the weather's doing, where you're watching from. Thank you guys a ton for the support. Thank you for watching this video. We will catch you next time. Almost said have a great weekend. We're almost there. Not yet, though. Have a great evening, guys.